Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And so if this is your first time here, my name is Victoria Riollano. I specialize in child and adolescent psychology. I teach social and developmental psychology for a few different colleges, as well as I am known as Pastor Victoria to my church family, Enlightened Church. And so, but beyond all that, and most importantly, I'm a child of God. But I'm also a mama of 7 beautiful children, and I've been married for about 15 years now. And so I'm super excited to share with you guys the different things that I've learned as it pertains to parenting and living a life that is victorious. So if this is your first time on the channel, you're going to see all kinds of things, right? Me worshiping with my daughter, as well as me just sharing the word of God. And for the next few weeks, I'm actually going to be talking to parents about how you can have a home that reflects God's heart, right? A home that is victorious, where you could feel like you're winning, where when you go to sleep at night, you feel like, man, I really feel like I did all that I was supposed to do. And even if you mess up, where you understand and know that there's a grace for that too. And so that's what I want to talk to you guys about. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I would really, really appreciate it, so that you could get some alerts as I start to put out various content. And so the first thing I want to talk to you guys today about is the importance of practicing the pause, right? Practice the pause. What would it look like in your life if you made the choice to, before you say that next thing, to stop and see, is this something that's going to build someone up, or is this something that's going to tear them down? Is this something that's going to uplift? Is it something that's going to encourage? Is it something that's going to inspire? Or is it something that's going to just absolutely destroy the way that person thinks about themselves or even that situation, right? And sometimes just the little things, right? The little aggravations, and before long, you've really destroyed that person's spirit because you didn't practice the pause. If you've ever heard somebody say, oh man, like he doesn't have a filter, she doesn't have a filter, what they're really trying to say is they think, they speak, they think, they speak. Like there's no, like they're not filtering it through truth, like not even God's truth, like regular truth, like is it true, right? They're not filtering it through God's word. Like is this lovely? Is it beautiful? Is it nice? Is it admirable? What I'm about to say, they're not even filtering it through like basic, like moral, like is it like rude, like is it the right thing to do? And so we know if you were to go to a counselor right now today, the first thing they would say is, okay, I want you to tell me about your childhood. They want to know who your mother was, who your father was, how did they interact with you, what happened when you got in trouble at home, how did they speak to you, did they raise their voice, did they spank you, did they put you in timeout? They want to know all these things about the interactions that you experienced from a young age, because they know that a lot of times how we act and react and respond to our current environment, a lot of that foundation was created in your home. And so in my home, there was not a lot of arguing, like there just wasn't. And so whenever there's a lot of arguing or it's loud, or like my home was very quiet. And so when I'm like put into a situation where everything is kind of like frazzled, like that's very overwhelming for me because I didn't grow up in that environment. So environments matter. Okay. If we were doing Facebook Live, I would say type in the comments, environment matters, right? And so when we're focused on like saying things that build and don't destroy, we're setting an environment, we're setting a culture that says the other person matters. And how much more important is that than in the people in our very own home? And so maybe you're watching today and you're like, man, like I'm not a parent, I just ended up here today. But this is important, whether you're a parent, whether you're a sister, whether you're a leader, whether you have a job, right? How we interact with people is so, so important. And so I want to ask you guys a few questions, some things, some mental notes as you get ready to speak with somebody and know, man, is this something that I should say or maybe I should not say? How many of you guys have been guilty of like typing out the text message and then like delete, or like typing out the email and like just saving it because you don't know if like you're really supposed to say that, right? We understand this. We understand that our words are powerful. Sometimes via like text and via email, it's easier to see like, man, like look what I'm about to say, because you can literally see it. But sometimes when we're face to face and in person, it's a little bit harder, right? We respond out of the emotion. And so let's ask ourselves these questions, okay? Is what I'm about to say going to cause more damage than good? Is what I'm about to say going to cause more damage or good? That's number one. Number two, Does it reflect my heart, and does it reflect God's heart? Does it reflect my heart, and does it reflect God's heart? What I'm about to say. Is there a better way to say it? Is there a better way to say it? We could say the same thing, girl, but we could say it two different ways, right? I could say, wow, nice hair. I could say, wow, nice hair. Or I could say, wow, nice hair, right? My face is telling a different story. My inflection and my tone, right? And so we have to be very careful. Or how about this? When the kid spills the milk, we could say, oh, did you spill the milk again? Or we could say, okay, looks like you spilled the milk again. Or we could say, hey, next time, instead of putting the milk here, I need you to put it there, because the milk falls more, right, when it's on the edge of the table. So we've said the same thing. We've displayed that we're not happy about the spilled milk, but the way in which we do it is gonna matter, right? You've all heard them say, like, right, don't cry over spilled milk. It's nothing to cry about. Give the instruction. So a lot of times, kids, children, people just need the instruction. They don't even know your expectation. So why not, instead of getting angry, screaming, being irate, just give the instruction. Practice the pause, right? And then the last question, what do I hope to gain from it? So let's go back to the spilled milk. That's such an easy example, right? So what do I hope to gain from it? Obviously, I would hope they would stop spilling that milk, right? And so instead of me screaming at them about this spilled milk, instead of me saying, you're never going to get milk again until you stop spilling milk, instead of me doing all those things, I give the instruction, hey, it seems like you're having a hard time with this milk, so I'm going to put it right here from now on, or I'm going to make sure you don't get your milk until after you eat your dinner so that you can just be focused on your milk or whatever. Or, hey, I'm going to buy you a cup with a straw so that in the future, that's a little bit easier for you until you get a little bit older so you can kind of handle your cup, right? And so we have different ways that we can speak to people and speak to children to where they're not discouraged. And so I love this verse. How many of you guys have heard the children obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right? Come on. I've said that verse to my children like a lot of times, right? But what about the verse that happens right after it? It says, fathers, do not aggravate your children or they will become discouraged. Whoa! Fathers, do not aggravate your children. Some versions say, do not provoke your children or they will become frustrated. Wow, so the Bible is not just addressing children. It's talking to parents too, like, calm down. Like, I think if this was written, it would say mothers, like today, like if they wrote this like today, it would say like, mothers, do not nag your children, for this will frustrate them. Give the instruction, give the expectation, and wait. So I think that's what God is telling us to do today. But we have to learn to practice that pause. And a lot of times we just are responding out of anger and frustration. Your children didn't learn a thing. All they learned is that you're mad right now, right? And so I love the verse in James 1:19. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Come on, let's say that. Quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. I had one pastor say it like this: slow to speak, right? Slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to get angry. A lot of times the reason why we're angry is because we spoke too quickly. A lot of times the reason why we're angry is because we didn't listen to the other person. And so maybe I want to say 3 months ago, I was suffering from really bad allergies and I had no voice. And the little bit of voice I had, I wanted to save it for Enlightened Church Sunday morning at 10 a.m., right? Because I knew I had to sing. And so I had to listen more. I didn't have a choice. I couldn't talk, right? And suddenly I realized, man, that thing I was mad at that person for, I really wouldn't have been mad had I listened to what they were trying to say, right? Or that thing that I was thinking that I was right and they were wrong. They were really right and I was really wrong because I had to listen, right? I was forced to listen. Have you ever forced yourself to listen? Like, put down your phone, stop the distractions, like really, really listen to the other person. Because I assure you, if you do, you will get angry a lot less. And even if you're still mad, at least you will gain understanding for why they made the choice they made or for why they said the thing they said. That doesn't mean that what they're saying or doing is right, but at least you'll have an understanding of why they did it. And so it's very important that our children feel like they belong. Our kids have to feel like they belong. And so we know that when people don't feel like they belong, they start to feel rejected, right? And so there's a term called rejection sensitivity. And that is when people start to refuse to be close because they've been rejected so much. And so this can be heightened if you have a situation where the person you really, really loved rejected you, or if it just happens all the time. And before long, we start to run away from relationships. Remember, one of the first things I said is a lot of times the counselor can tell a whole lot about how you are, how you're going to interact, and how you respond based on your childhood. And so sometimes the things we can say can make our children feel rejected. And so when they start to grow up and get older and have their own relationships, they kind of shy away from getting too close because they've been rejected, right? And maybe you didn't mean to do it. Maybe you're listening today and you're like, I could kind of see how I've done that. And maybe that wasn't the intention, right? And so here's some ways that maybe we may be doing it. So this is where our words are very, very important. Let's say you have a child that misbehaves and you're like, why are you so bad? Why are you acting so stupid today? Why do you always make everything worse? Every time you're around, something goes wrong. Every time you're around, people are angry. Whoa. Ouch. Like, those are some very, very powerful words. I've been guilty. I've had to change that. Man, why are you being so bad today? To listen. It seems like you're having a hard time listening today. What can I do today to help you to listen? Because I know that you have the potential to do the right thing, and I want to help you get there, right? Whereas I used to just blurt out, you are not listening today, right? I didn't practice the pause. I just started screaming, right? I could scream, right? We can scream. We're really good at scream parenting. But we have to ask ourselves, how effective is it? Is it working? I mean, I think in the moment it does work. Like, whoa, like, she's screaming at me. I better do this thing, right? But in the long run, is it working for you? Do they have deeper respect? Do they understand what you've asked them to do in the long run? We got to practice the pause. We have to stop and think about, is there a better way to say this? What am I hoping to gain from this? Does it reflect my heart for them? It doesn't reflect my heart for them to say, man, you're just so bad. That's not what I feel about them. I think they're great kids, right? I love those kids. I want them to do great things. I see great potential in them, right? What if we start speaking that even when they're in trouble? Hey, man, I see some great potential in you. And this is not just for parents. Wherever you work, whoever you interact with, try to find that thing that's great about them before you bring that correction. Man, I see so much potential in you. I know that if you work hard, that this is where we can get you to. But right now, we're having this struggle, and I want to know how I can partner with you to get you there, right? How many of you have ever said that to your kids, right? That's such like a foreign idea. Come on. Before the 1900s, kids weren't even really seen as whole people, right? They were seen as like a percentage of a person, right? We didn't value children in that way to say, how can we work together to get this thing done? But they are people, they are growing, they are learning from each interaction. And so we have to do all we can to make sure they feel like they belong. And so there are two characteristics that make up a relationship where people feel like they belong. And number one is regular positive contact. Regular positive contact. And number two is an ongoing relationship where mutual concern is given, right? And so I want to ask you, chances are you have regular contact with your children. But do they know that you have genuine concern for them? Or do they think that you're just screaming at them and just trying to get them to do the things, right? And so I want to implore you one more time to follow the guidelines we find in James 1:19. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Take notes of it. Write it down. Keep it here, right? Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak. That's the practice to pause. It just happened. He wrote that, right? Slow to speak. Pause before you speak. And slow to become angry. I believe when we start to do this, we will see our relationships so radically shift. We'll start to see God move in amazing ways. And it's not because, we're super mom or super dad or super boss or anything. But because we've shown that person that we value them, we care about their success, we see potential in them. And so rather than do things and say things that's going to destroy them and cause them to feel like they are not worthy, we make a choice to love them on purpose, to speak on purpose, right? That's what I want to encourage you guys to do today. And so I'm sure I have a lot more to say about this, and you're going to hear more about it. And so I want to continue to talk to you guys about how you can be a parent who wins, how you can be a father who's winning, a mother who's winning, one who feels victorious, like, man, I am doing all that God has called me to do. And so if you haven't already, I want to honestly, sincerely ask you to subscribe so that we can keep in touch, so we can talk about this more. If you haven't already, go ahead and grab the book, The Victory Walk, a 21-day devotional, as we talk more about a lot of times the reason why we can't be victorious in parenting is because we're not even victorious like in our own individual lives, right? We haven't established a relationship with God where we can really trust him for what to say and what not to say, what to do and what not to do. And I want to share that with you. So if you haven't already, go ahead to www.victoryspeaks.org/welcome and let's talk about it some more. I love you guys. I thank you for watching today, and I pray peace, blessings, love, and victory over you and yours. Bye, y'all.